home and consumer electronics, automotive, healthcare, manufacturing, and others. Manufacturing is where robots have excelled. But trust me, those robots in manufacturing just follow a sequence. They don't take decisions. They are not, in the real sense, robots. They're just mechanical actuators, programmed to carry out predefined tasks. It could even be as opening your window when the sun comes out and shutting your window when the sun goes out and down. There's nothing robotic about it. Okay? It's like your phone hibernating when battery is low. Nothing fantastic about it. All right. So, the Samsung Family Hub is a revolutionary new refrigerator with Wi-Fi enabled touchscreen that lets you manage your groceries and connect with your family and entertain like never before. Of course, it is IP enabled and it connects directly to the internet. So what we are saying is that your fridge can directly talk to supermat.ng, so that when you have compartments for milk, for sugar in your fridge, when milk begins to run low, it orders milk directly from supermat.ng for delivery to your home. You said? So, you visit your doctor, and the doctor finishes taking your weight and finds out that you are overweight and that you must cut down on midnight snack. And so the doctor enters an entry into his computer to say, this man should eat less of, this woman should eat less of midnight snack, because I don't want people to say what I'm saying is not relevant. And of course, he enters this into the cloud, and it's the same cloud that houses your posts, your Facebook pictures, and everything, so they can see the evolution of your fatness. Are we together? So, at night, you tiptoe to your fridge, put your hand on the handle and you pull, and the screen just displays access denied, doctor's order. Now, your fridge is working for your doctor. I told a friend in some conversations years ago, that friend is as dangerous as sharks. I said, there are 3 people that should not be friends with your wife: your bank manager, your lawyer, and your doctor. If those 3 people are your friends, your wife's friend, you are finished as a man. Because there is no other thing. Are we together? So when your fridge begins to work directly for your doctor, you are in serious trouble. So, moving to Abdulhakim's realm now. Your network savvy neighbor is broke and hungry. So he hacks into your doctor's computer and diagnoses you as malnourished, so that your fridge orders more groceries from supermat.ng and your neighbor picks it up from your doorstep. How nice, because you will blame your doctor for the error. So welcome to the new world. It's no longer a dream. Your devices are now connected and they are ready to teach you a few morals. And it's fun now to see the evolution of driverless cars and how they are being paraded around the streets of Lagos. Because if you look very well, you will see a driverless car go past you. But when a driverless car looks out of the window, it's not able to distinguish the age of pedestrians or the number of occupants in the next car. Researchers say even if we want to imbue an autonomous vehicle with an ethical engine, we don't have the capability to do so today. A car is carrying a well-known politician and racing down a street, and a child suddenly steps onto the road. Do you kill that child, or you ram into a wall and kill the politician, or what do you do? Maybe that politician has stole so much money that he should just die and go. Maybe that child is the next Albert Einstein that is coming from Nigeria. Those ethical decisions, it is not possible to make them with driverless cars today. Salute to that man in one of those planes that was supposed to crash into the Pentagon in the US during the 9/11, who fought the hijacker to wreck that plane so that only those in that plane died and not the targets on the ground. Those are still ethical decisions that man makes today, and machines cannot, because they don't have the ability to process to that level. So how do we plug in, me and you? The first is that we must know that behavior is embedded in data. We must also begin to know that we need to keep the data that we generate. And trust me, we generate a lot of data, but we don't keep them. We don't even bother. Next, we must learn from what we keep. We have a lot of data that we keep, but we don't even look at them to say, what is this data telling me? Then, I say you must share what you have, because what you have is the critical input somebody needs to answer some critical questions that has been bothering them. And then, of course, you must be bold to ask others for the data that you need so that you can answer the questions that bother you. And of course, you must help others to get the data that they need. And out of these, ladies and gentlemen, we then must innovate out of all these cooperations. There is no point cooperating when there is no innovation coming out of the cooperation. So I'll give you a few examples in closing. The first, which I call a project, that some of you can sit down and discuss and agree and begin to work upon, is what I call where to. I even give it a name, Project Trafmon. You all have networks. You've spent a lot of energy building it. Where are your network users going? What website are they visiting? Are we together? What websites are your network users visiting? So, we already have the means now. I think, where is the, it's NetPath, right? NetPath. Yes. Everybody can install it on their network. But it's not just getting the data. It is centrally collecting the data to see where are Nigerian network users visiting. What websites are they going? What's the traffic by destination? Is there some pattern? Where do they visit during the day? Where do they visit at night? What's the trend? What about the problem? Because as you visit the same sites, the latency changes over time. What are those bottlenecks? Can we domesticate those websites? Or can we internalize them? It will be interesting, ladies and gentlemen, what you can come up with. So I challenge those who manage the border routers of the various networks here. Perhaps you can do that as a project. Aggregate those data and begin to get the social scientists to look at them. We don't need to say this one is the VC's data and this one is the deputy registrar's data. No! Let's look at it on a very holistic level, and you will be shocked what type of pattern we can find at the end of the day. The second project I call Project Light Up Nigeria. What is the state of electricity power where you are? Whether your house, your office, is public utility available? Are you using alternative power? What's the amount of power you are generating? What's the amount of power you are consuming? If 1,000 people all over Nigeria are able to monitor power at the various places where they are, you might be shocked that nobody can lie to us that we are generating 4,000 gigawatts. Is it kilowatt or gigawatt? Megawatts. Oh, it's mega. Because the data is there live. And you can even put it on a website so people can visit it. South Africa tried an experiment some years ago. The power level in every municipality was fed into their cable system. So when you are watching TV, you would see indicators on the top of your TV that will either be green, yellow, or red, which told you the peakness of power in your area. And what that means is when it is yellow, please don't put on your electric iron or any power-hungry device. In fact, turn off lights. When it goes red, keep everything off except your TV, because then the grid can collapse. But today, we don't even know when the grid is available for use. That simple experiment helped them manage their electricity. If I know that not ironing now will prevent a power cut, a fuse from cutting, do you think I will iron? I won't iron. We all manage our inverters now, those of us that have inverters. We know when to say, oh yeah, put off the fan. We know when to say, oh yeah, put off the light. Just keep the TV on so that the family can be entertained and we can charge our phones. Of course, once you can study your consumption pattern, forecast and estimate your power, you can begin to plan the power. And if we all are to use critical load with PHCN, I'm sure everybody will be happy, isn't it? So PHCN or anywhere DC guys that are here, please work with ngNOG. We can help do a consumption and utilization system nationwide, powered by ngNOG participants that will make electricity distribution much more effective in Nigeria. Project number 3. I call it meteorological data gathering, micromet. So what is the state of meteorology in your location? Is it raining? What's the barometric pressure, temperature, wind speed, wind direction? The wind that leaves Abeokuta at 50 kilometers per hour will reach Ibadan in exactly 1 hour, isn't it? And if there is rain, it probably would come with the rain. We don't need CNN to then know what meteorological pattern it is and whether it will rain where we are or not. Satellite prediction is good from satellite images, but it cannot beat real data. And we should not give up, because we can begin to gather that data and help meteorological services plan much more, so that weather level can be predicted better at a micro level. There will not be something called scatter showers. We can say 5 mm of rain will fall today at 5 p.m. We must be as accurate as that. Then project 4, I call it Project Binto, aka Bintu. We're all road warriors. I think some people here travel more than me, but I do an average of 40,000 kilometers a year. I don't know about you. On Nigerian roads. So, on those roads we ply, is it single or multi-carriage? Is it paved or not paved? The surface quality, average travel time, the bumps, whether the roads are safe or not safe because of criminal activities. What is the state or deterioration of those roads. We can gather that data. So before you go on a trip, even Google Map is not as accurate as it should be. I was traveling sometime 2 weeks ago in Osun State, and he said, do a U-turn, there is no road. And I said, how can there be road? I saw a vehicle coming. And I persisted, and I got there was road. They put planks across the road, and I crossed, and it saved me 1 whole hour. How can I immediately let Google know I have better data than them? And that's a frontier for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is still project add yours to my list. So you can add number 5, number 6, number 7. And let us find those niches, ladies and gentlemen, where we can add value and contribute to the emerging gold rush. Because in the Internet of Things, it is the man that has data that can influence the man that will take decisions. If I have bored you this afternoon, I sincerely apologize. All right, Shaq said questions, discussions.
Yes, I'm sure there are a lot of questions that will arise from, like the one that you said, safe or not safe. How do you use sensors to monitor armed robbers? Are you going to implant it in their body? You are the sensor. The driver is the sensor.
Charles, do you know that it is possible while driving to also monitor the state of fear in you?
Yes.
When you drive on a road that you are afraid throughout, and measuring the state of fear is not difficult. Change in body blood pressure is the easiest thing to measure now. A lot of us wear Fitbits that monitor our heart rate. We can collect that data on a car level and centrally store it. So knowing whether a road is safe or not is the easiest thing, because the fear level that you carry determines it.
Can I just answer your I'd like to answer you with a very sad story that happened about a month or 2 ago now. One of my mentors in Kaduna, his son was actually going back to Kaduna by road with his wife, and their car broke down. And as the car broke down, they tried to fix it, wasn't working. So a good Samaritan stopped and was towing them, and the rope kept cutting. So they got to a village and were able to buy a better rope. And then they continued on the tour. By then it got to about 7 o'clock in the evening, and some young boys with guns jumped out of the bushes. So of course the guy in the front car towing sped off, and the rope cut.
Oh no.
So the young man, my mentor's son, was actually killed, and his wife was kidnapped. I think they demanded 250 million eventually. For about 2 million she was released, and they got her back safely. But the point was that her phone was recovered, and the GPS from the phone told them where the robbers' camp was. So I'm just saying a practical example between Abuja and Kano. Now the irony, I'm sorry to put it like this, was that the police now knew where the camp was. In fact, apparently the camp is near the railway line that goes to Kaduna. And the police now said that, well, they couldn't attack the camp because there were so many other hostages that they were afraid an attack might kill. But my point is just to buttress what Reverend Falayan says, that you'll be shocked that even in kidnapping you, this device, as they say, don't let Madame use the tracking of it. But also you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked that, yes. And ironically, there are software such as Prey, Kaspersky, that even if your device is stolen or you yourself physically are diverted, So there are ways that it does it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Google Location Tracker is great. I'm avoiding mentioning specific products. But what I am saying is find a way of recording, of having a software on it that does not store it in Google, but stores it on your own server, so that you have your own data. I hope I am clearer now, because I'm trying not to be a commercial spokesperson. But just as Google Location Tracker is able to know where you are, you also can store that data on your own server, so that designated people can find you. I mean, I trust Sharks a lot. I can store where I am on a server, so that when they are looking for me, Sharks can say, I know where the tracker reported him last. That's very important. Again, it costs 15,000 naira, 20,000 naira to buy an Android phone, isn't it? You can just install an open source tracking software. Oh, I hear NCC is licensing tracking service providers. I laugh. I very much laugh, because you can buy your own, put your phone hidden in the dashboard, power to the battery, reporting and recording to an open source. Okay? So the point is that things have moved beyond great technology. They are now commodity products that we should use. So if you have a fleet of vehicles, nothing stops you from buying 10,000, 15,000 Android phones, installing OpenGTS on them, put them in the cars, and you're ready. It will even, you know, the phones have shock sensors. So it can monitor as you go on the road, the pressure coming from the road and reporting. So technology has moved beyond paying huge for a company to track your vehicles. And you can all go back and track your university vehicles, and it will show you your NOG, how the vehicles are moving. You can calculate how much fuel they spent in a month by their liters per kilometer and how many kilometers they moved. You can analyze the data. So the possibilities are there, ladies and gentlemen. You can take over all these little challenges in our various institutions. Then they can move some of the travel and maintenance budget to ICT budget. I mean, that's how we can continue to build networks. Yes.
My name is Mr. Benjamin. I just want to add a voice to what he has said. In the past 5 years, I'm a lecturer with the University of Jos. I've been supervising strictly projects on IoT, undergraduates. And we've actually achieved a lot. And it's so cheap. That's one thing I need to tell you, that these projects could come very cheap. Currently, Tech Fund is sponsoring one of our projects, which is actually what you just said, the weather station. We have,
really?
Yes, they released about 2.1 million. You see, well, through the university to my account. That's what you want to hear, all right? We are building automatic weather station to monitor potato blight. Okay, there's this illness called potato blight that affects both tomatoes and potato on the plateau. And we're able to build up this device and monitor the weather at real time, post it to a central server, and then run analysis to tell farmers when to go out and spray against the blight and so on and so forth, because it's just a weather condition. So we actually anchored it with ASTC in Jos. So it just came easy as we wrote for those kind of projects. You get easy approval, because this is where we are now. We have problems that China cannot solve directly from China, right? This is an opportunity for us to come in. We just use things like Arduino and a couple of sensors, and within a few thousand naira, we were able to assemble an Android phone less than 5,000 naira. Complete phone, which of course we're transmitting data to the server using GPRS. So we needed a SIM card and just something to read the SIM card and just post. That's what we did. So we, even with the screen was about $1.something to get a screen, a phone screen like the Nokia the 310 screen. That's what we used. And with just little efforts, our project was running. We also were able to build up a hospital, like a nursing station that is wireless to the hospital beds. So we're able to send real-time through Wi-Fi or radio signal as well, the vital signs of every patient on the bed. So these are ways we could come in with this IoT immediately and start solving these problems. So it's not far-fetched, it's something that is happening now. That's why I had to say it. And government is willing to sponsor if you're right as well. Thank you very much.
This vital signs monitoring in hospitals, I am interested in us turning that into a commodity product coming out of this group. I think, and I'm trying to say it, let 3, 4, 5, 10 people come together and form working groups and let them tackle each of those things. Let's not just, frankly, Baba, you know we've discussed this over and over. One of our biggest failures is that we all are looking for funding opportunities. It is not the funding that is the task for us. It is the problem we are trying to solve. When you solve the problem, the funds will come. So I want to beg us, what we are generating are ideas that people can come together and run with. You might even be surprised that you can spin off companies. 3, 4 of you come together, you form a company that is building these things, supporting it, but it's not enough to just build these things. That data becomes the gold that we need. Okay, so I want to appeal to us. What I've seen over the years is people come to meetings like this, they see brainwaves, then they go back to write proposals. No, let us form the human network here. When you form the human network, there are enough people in the community to help. I remember on ngNOG a few years ago, a young man said he has built an alternative power system. Right there, Baba connected him with one of the telco providers, and he has built, he's still saying thank you sometimes, built that alternative power system for as many of the telcos as want it.
Is there anybody from Gombe State University here? Deole, you remember our visits?
Then, they have these weather stations, fully automated, capturing weather information. I really strongly recommend you take a visit to Gombe State University and see how you can work together.
Thank you very much. My name is Bola Akonde. Just a comment too. I must be sincere, I appreciate the presentation in a great way. Before coming to this event, my director didn't want to allow me because he has given me a new office. I was formerly in the network team. But when he came in newly, he said he wants to form a research cluster. And what I need to be doing here is all about big data analytics. And immediately I arrived here yesterday, I know I was asking Rashid that I think we need to introduce, I was telling her, not knowing that something like this will come up, that we need to start something on big data in ngNOG. I just said that immediately I arrived here yesterday, that was the first statement that came out of my mouth. And I must be sincere, it's a way to go. And like the project you just suggested about the IP traffic monitoring is what I'm actually working on currently. Knowing where the people on the campus are actually visiting, and then being able to work with the social science department of my of the school to actually bring out a certain information from there, which I suggested to my director because he's a researcher, and he has actually made me to head a unit called Research and Development Unit in the university. And what we'll be doing is working with data to be able to bring out insights, information to help the decision making. And we are not actually planning to limit it within the campus alone. We want to use it to help the general public in getting some few information that will help you to at least give people insight and information about their decision taking. So I want to also recommend, please, that we should see how we can continue or start. Thank God for the IoT. I think I'll be part of the class. I'm making requests for now. I want to join the IoT. And then I want to encourage that let this big data thing continue with ngNOG.
let it not just end with the IoT, because we need to know how to analyze this data, the kind of tool, because we have different formats of data. We need to know how we work with this data and bring out solutions from there. Thank you very much.
Collection of data. I know there was a time we tried getting universities to try to collect data and do some analysis. There's this fear because Reverend SF talked about how universities will gather data. So you keep track of which sites are people visiting. But I'm sure we'll discuss that now. Once you go back home and you're asked, Matata, can you give us access to your backbone data? There's that fear that when this data is collected, it's being used for something else. So I think we need to begin to look at how do we actually assure those people that the data that is collected is being used for the purpose for which it's collected.
A lot of us celebrate our stupidity. Forgive my choice of terms. You are a school that has 20,000 students. You have 155 megabits. There's another school that has 1,000 students. That's 1 over 20, right? Yes. And they are 45 megabits. And you go to town to say we have the highest bandwidth of all Nigerian universities. I say shame. And you see that, I mean, it's among us. When we talk, we pride ourselves in those stupidity of what use is your bandwidth and its bigness to other universities. Absolutely nothing. Why people don't share is that some neonates, I call them neonates, children, take such information and boast about it. I think if we repent, if we realize that those are not things to boast about, then we will begin to cooperate because there are bigger problems. Absolutely bigger problems. I'll take another one. Some years ago, we tried to get some universities to pair, some institutions to pair, and people began to fight. The ngNOG must be in our school. We have the biggest ICT unit among Nigerian universities. I again say, shame on you. It is not how big you are. It is how open you are for other people to grow bigger. Those are the things, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to inculcate in ourselves. We're a community. Let's discipline ourselves to realize our goal. Then these problems will disappear. Number 3, a lot of us over-believe in hierarchy. These things don't succeed with hierarchy. 3 techies from 3 universities can work together and have oath of secrecy that we won't tell our management we're doing this. I am serious. That's the way the best exchange points work. All right? The first connection between ScanNet and OAU Ife was done by Sunday Folai and Clement Onime. There was no buy-in of the respective organizations. But the day the OAU people found out that their mails to UI were arriving in matters of minutes, they asked why. They were told there is an interconnection between the 2 providers. That's it. So, but again, why would I run an advert to say ScanNet, the only network interconnected with the university in Nigeria? Stupidity. Okay? So we must begin to recognize these things. A lot of things are not happening because we want to live in unnecessary glory. We don't need those glories. Let them go so that things can happen. Then later on when things happen, people will acknowledge you. All these internet engineering task forces that come up with these standards, do you think one of them cannot go to announce that I've discovered a faster routing and what? They keep quiet until they can all announce as a community. Then you don't know who is doing what. But our quest to be better than people who are already better than us is the reason why we're not making progress.
Can you use engine of the
Thank you very much.
I know, no, I just wanted to say that some of the systems we use, Google, say, Microsoft, they collect this data anyway, and they put it to use. And if here, while you are here, you want to start a program with people from other institutions, You can actually sit, that's the purpose of these conferences and these workshops. You can actually sit with them and you can design something similar to a norm, which is what Adejola was saying. You could design a simple form, acceptable use policy, and you all sign as gentlemen. Okay? Let's get it going.
Thank you, brother.
Sorry, we can't take any more questions, but if we have time after lunch, then we'll take a few questions before we move to the next presentation. So now let's just move for lunch at the restaurant. Please, can we move closer to the front, if you don't mind. At this point, we will have a presentation on building a smart campus for 21st century learning. And that will be by Oyaje Idogo from Layer 3. That's the CEO of Layer 3. So, Mr. Oyaje, please.
All right, so yeah, my presentation, the title is Building a Smart Campus for 21st Century Learning and Research. So I'm hoping that in the course of this presentation, I'll touch a bit of on these different topics that I mentioned here. So what is a smart campus? Can you use the next two slides here? And the problem really is institutions and people involved in the academia all over the world, and particularly in our country, Nigeria. The pressure is there to build a modern learning experience that supports anytime, anywhere learning. Despite the challenges that we know are obvious, we are faced with problems of legacy systems. We are faced with challenges. So smart campuses really should allow anytime, anywhere, with any device educational experience. So basically, this is what this presentation hopes to address. So what is a smart campus? I said it's a tight integration and holistic execution of various smart components to deliver an exceptional educational experience which otherwise couldn't have been possible. So for a network to be said to be smart, also it has to be open, not OEM locked. We have situations where integration of your existing infrastructure with another is very difficult because of the proprietary either software or configurations running on it. So in designing smart network, you have to ensure that whatever network it is very open. It has to allow automation. We're in the era of software-defined network and NFV, where you can actually automate right on the network plane itself. So we are the era that if you are designing network, you have to have all these considerations. It has to be app aware, which is content monitoring. It should be able to delve into the applications running on the network to be able to monitor it. Even if it's Facebook, you have to delve deeper into Facebook to monitor the chats and all that. Then of course, you can't have a network, in an higher institution without taking care of security. Smart devices, well, basically this talks about Internet of Things, enabled devices. So there's no limit to what kind of device can fall into this category. what makes a device IoT enabled? We already discussed it here. I mean, it has to have sensors that you can collect data from. So any device that doesn't have that feature, that you can't collect data from, then you can't consider it as an IoT device. So there's no limits. I just listed some here, from CCTV to environmental control, high voltage air conditioning to access control, smart teaching boards, intercom, payment terminals. So the list goes on. So every device to a large extent can be enabled for IoT, at least new devices coming up. Then smart handheld devices, these are the typical, input devices that, students and faculty use for, data entry and data access, which are basically smartphones, tabs, laptops, smartwatches now, and computers, and even smart TVs as well. Then smart apps. These are applications and software that enable access to all points of connection. So yes, you have all the IoT devices, you have your network infrastructure, what kind of applications integrate, both both all the components together. These are where your smart apps fit in. And of course, your examples of some smart apps as well, an educational institution will be the learning management systems, the enterprise resource application systems, and the list goes on. So components of the smart campus, I know we initially in the previous slide we listed about 5, however they are compressed into 2. The IT service delivery platform, which is the end-to-end infrastructure, the connectivity, mobility, security, basically taking care of everything that has to do with IP, connectivity, security. Then we have the Internet of Things applications, which rides on the IT service delivery platform. You have the IP connectivity, which is where the IT service delivery platform sits. So it comprises of the network infrastructure, security, and all the other things that make up that component. Then connected to the infrastructure, we have, of course, dashboard and demo room for monitoring, data collection, data analytics. We have, monitoring and control for buildings, and of course through the network IP connectivity or network infrastructure plane. That's where you integrate with third parties, which could be still within the school or external parties. But there's something to ponder, right? I've already talked about the IoT, which really is what makes up the bulk of the smart campus, and the fact that they should be able to collect data through the sensors that they have embedded in there. So as IT staff, the questions we need to continuously ask ourselves is, how can you use this data to improve services and possibly influence, not just the students, but basically the whole educational success? Because without data analytics, which a lot has even been said about already, that data is useless. So yes, data has been collected. However, what are we using that data for, which is really the essence of a smart campus? So, key questions to ask when considering a smart campus. I want to assume that, my assumption might be wrong, that there really is no institution in Nigeria that can say, with all confidence and 100% certain that they have a smart campus. So am I correct?
Yes. Within the context of this book.
Within the context of, well, at least and from what you know, and from what I've already said so far, can we say any institution here has a smart campus?
Not even a wise one.
Okay. So so if you are considering, building a smart campus, what are those questions that can help guide you? First of all, you have to talk about the infrastructure that everything else will ride on. And scalability remains a major factor in determining whether your institution will scale. I know budget will always come up because of budgeting, but the truth is, technology has advanced, and the era of SDN and NFV and all of that. So it's very, very easy, especially if you haven't started the journey already, to consider, to deliberately make an effort to ensure whatever network you are building can scale. So today, your student population might be 10,000. Tomorrow, you never know, it could rise to 20,000. Today, your bandwidth requirement could be, maybe you are designing for a 10 gig network. Or you should make provisions. Like tomorrow, if I want to scale to 40 gig or 100 gig, or when, networks that can support even more than 100 gig comes up, my network can scale. So basically, I invested in just either the chassis, which is really what SDN is about. You have the chassis and through virtualization, So all that has to be considered if you are either planning or in the process of starting your smart campus journey. Then, of course, making broadband robust and accessible. That's also important. And to start with, you have to deal with the internal connectivity, right? Because most of the communication on the campus will be internal. So building that core connectivity infrastructure to support, robust and bandwidth growth is extremely important. So you can't, I don't see anybody building a network in this state and probably using a 1 gig interface for your fiber connectivity and all. At least the minimum you should be looking at least 10 gig. And provisions to scale 40 gig, 100 gig, and probably more. Then, how can IoT benefit the students, teachers, and administrators? So, if you are able to answer this question, then automatically that will form those devices that you can give priority to enable for IoT. So if security is a major concern, I'm not talking about even network security, but data security. I'm talking about physical security, and of course you are going to fit in, CCTVs as part of your IoT, decisions. If payments, is part of your major challenge, of course you are going to be thinking about POS terminals, and the list goes on. So by answering those questions, that's how can IoT benefit the students, and what IoT technologies are most pertinent. You'll be able to determine, the decisions you make around this. First of all, asking the questions and establishing the policies and framework for procedures and metrics for monitoring, key performance indicators. How would you know when you even start making progress, with your smart campus, development, design, and all that? So you must, and it's not, a one-off thing. It's a journey. I don't believe that, coming up with a smart campus strategy and implementation is a journey. The good thing about institutions, I think besides religion, institution is one thing that I think it should never die. So year in, year, we've heard of institutions in other parts of the world that are well over 100 years, So if you are designing anything now, you have to put that into consideration. Those policies and metrics for continuity. Yes, you are there as an IT director for 5 years. When you are gone, what happens? That will not be the case of, politics when somebody else comes and no, it has to be continuous. Money has been spent, work has gone in, people have, spent, sleepless hours trying to put this in place. What happens when you are no longer there? Is there any role for continuity? All those things have to be discussed, and of course, training and awareness. Because of course, if you are setting up this, it's not just going to be limited to the IT department; it's the whole school. So even part of the onboarding exercise for new students coming in, that now forms part of the onboarding exercise. And of course, for existing students, faculty that are already used to doing things in a particular way, how do you get them to change? So continuous training and retraining will be critical, in embarking on this journey and making it. But there are a few benefits that I've listed here. Improved student engagement experience, improved attendance, and emotion tracking through RFID tags. There's in Arizona State University, for instance, in the US, where ID cards have been replaced by wrist tags, radio frequency IDs. Whereas a student walks into the lecture hall, attendance is automatically taken, and even emotions. I mean, right now they are not there yet, but they have already developed a roadmap where they can, lecturers can actually monitor emotions of students. So for instance, if you all had the RFIDs and I'm able to monitor you now, know how many of you have already tuned up and thinking about when this presentation will end. How many of you, how this is making, it will enable lecturers to be able to redesign, their lectures to better suit their students. But what are lecturers there for, if not to impart knowledge? So a situation whereby I come in, 1,000 people in an auditorium, spend 1 hour, leave, not knowing the impact. Basically these are the problems that smart campus can solve if well implemented. Then of course apps to improve students' life. I know the situation hasn't changed, but students suffer. Students suffer. Which is why whenever we go out, we excel, because the stress involved in succeeding in Nigeria is tough. Even the best schools still have those challenges. From finding, I get into school, from getting direction to my hostel, to finding a registrar's office, those are challenges that can be solved. Then contemporary industry partnerships. This one is also key. So the partnership between smart universities and companies, industry to become more prevalent. Because right now, it's not there, because you can blame the companies and organizations, but on the other side, is it because maybe they are not seeing as much effort or results from the universities that they want to see? There's been a lot of talk about big data. We just delved into big data, and one of our greatest challenges in that space now is getting human capital that can fit into those roles, because they are not really there. But if we realize that we don't even need to hire, there are skills that we can partner with, to solve the problems that we have. And of course, so we'll see an increased rate of partnership between institutions and the private sector if we can get to the point where we see more of these things coming up. And of course, potential resource of technology and research funding will now come in. We won't be depending on just TED Fund, USPF, or government for funding. The private sector will be channeling funding into schools, because they'll know they'll get the required results. Then, of course, institutions will now serve as innovation hubs, because there's going to be a lot of innovation going on between the faculty and students. So we'll see a lot happening in that space. Then research definitely will be driven, and ultimately all this will end up affecting the economy positively. How do you deal with all this data? I'm just trying to imagine a school like ABU. It's almost as big as some small towns. Having CCTVs all over, having students with RFID, and every hostel there's an access. Access into the hostel or classrooms. How do you deal with all this data? So then we have to start thinking about storage, terabits, I don't know what's after terabits again, but, so storage becomes a major issue. It can be solved, but of course, funding has to come in. Security, because in the midst of all this, there will be people with malicious intentions. So if security is not dealt with, then it becomes a major issue. Then who owns all this data? Right? Because all this data has been collected now. Who owns it? Is it the school? Is it you? Is it that when you are graduating, as part of your certificate, they'll also package your data in a hard disk and give to you? So those are questions that, of course, will have to be toyed with carefully. Then mobility, because with this kind of smart campus, they have to think of a highly mobile network infrastructure. So beyond the core, you have to worry about the speed of access point, the density of access point, if you want to be able to, because there's no point setting all this up and find out that you don't get as much data as you wanted because of probably blind spot or congestion on the network. So that remains also very, very critical. Then of course, in infrastructure and connectivity, how do you scale? That's supposed to be scale. How do you scale, integrate, and maintain? There are dependencies, especially if you're now going to the internet. But within the campus infrastructure, you have to worry about that. Then privacy and security concerns are, if you have CCTVs all over, will one crazy IT guy decide to use it for a different purpose? So those are also ethical questions that will have to be answered and properly prepared for by the time you are designing your network. IT guys might decide to become demigods. Somebody will take over the RFID of a student that has probably not greeted them in the morning. So there are lots of considerations that have to be dealt with, as we build this network. I think that bought this expensive car now, just that small pump, your old 504 can cross over. So we will definitely have challenges, and some have already been listed here, and we as national companies that deal with some of you. So these are some of the number one point there is problem we face with. They will tell you that if it's not broken, don't fix it. This thing is working for me, nobody's complaining, why should I change? Even when maybe the funding is available. So that mindset has to change, especially if you want to position yourself. We talk about the 21st century and beyond. That mindset has to change. Yes, it might work for you, however, 5 years down the line, when you are no more there, this is a major issue. Like I don't have any solutions. Then data management, we already talked about this. Lack of long-term planning and vision. This is extremely important. Universities are not going to go anywhere. So if they are not going to go anywhere, why won't you plan, with that, mindset? Usual suspect, stable power. I don't need to say much about this one. Then of course, lack of, not smart people, but people that are unwilling to develop themselves to get aligned with the times. So the typical person that is comfortable with, typewriter or even configuring a Cisco router, technology has evolved. We need to think about automation. The IT guys now, they should be looking at what are those solutions that we can, rather than buying boxes, we're buying, software that can continue to automate and evolve as we move on. That's the university that I mentioned. So that's the student who just came in, graduation, first time in Arizona, first time in the school. Like I said, she downloaded the app. She already has every information she needs about the school. From, the institutions are big, from the maps, to finding directions, to knowing the series of events over the next few days. Basically, she has every information. So this is the things that we hope we'll be able to achieve. Then, of course, I'm from layer 3, just like I said. I partner with the sector, and we can help. We can work together. I love the ideas that have come
from here. And just like Reverend has said, I mean, we are very, very much passionate about the sector, the educational institutions, and we want to, take this partnership to the next level so that we can start seeing results, and start knowing that yes, because of this effort, things were like this, but now they're like this. So that's what we hope that we can achieve through possible collaboration. So thank you very much.
I think it deserves more. So maybe we'll take questions or comments, suggestions. Anyone?